Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This is an interesting week for the market. We still have a lot of cards spiking. You're going to see that throughout the video. Cards that are moving because of influence from Modern Horizons 2, or now the upcoming Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set. However, overall, the market does seem to be calming down a little bit. As a matter of fact, in this video, I was able to go back down to our normal $1 threshold, which I haven't been able to do for months. So we won't talk about any cards unless they're moving at least $1 up or down. Also, I'm seeing less market manipulation out there, which is a good thing too. There's a few cards that are still being egregiously market manipulated, and we're not going to talk about those, but there's a lot less of that happening, which is good. Quickly, before we get into the details, though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pick up Modern Horizons 2 products or a number of other things that they have on their website. Remember, if your order is over $100 or it consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. And whenever you use that promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin with the standard legal spotlight. These are the cards that are standard legal moving the most this week. First, we have some cards going down in value. Scourge of the Skyclaves. This is down $1.23 to $11.69. This card is seeing less play than it was seeing a number of months ago, but it's still a good card. It's not doing a lot in standard currently if you look back at this past season. However, I have seen some new builds with Adventures in the Forgotten Realms cards that are trying to run this. One in particular is a mono black Scourge aggro deck running 4 of these. In Modern, this is still in Death Shadow builds there. This does see a little Commander play too, and Nethroi Apex of Death and more. Heliod Sun Crown. This goes down $1.24 to $21. Let's talk about Modern first with this one. Heliod Company may be seeing less play in this new Modern meta, but it is still seeing play, still kicking around. I do think that is the reason, though, this card is a little soft right now. When it comes to other formats, though, there's potential for sure. Let's talk about Commander. It is seeing more play now in Sithis Harvest's hand builds there, as well as Zabaz the Glimmerwasp, and it's showing up in deck lists around a new card from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. It's this card here, Trelisara Moondancer. Now, Heliod may be in a position to see more standard play as well. I have seen this in a Cleric build, for example, but the card that really could push strategies favorable to Heliod is this one here, the Book of Exalted Deeds. This combos with Faceless Haven and Standard, creating a situation where your opponent will need to find a way to deal with your Haven to win. The book has already been banned in Arena's Standard 2022 format because that is a best-of-1 format, so players don't have the opportunity to side in anything to destroy lands. However, I do think this card is going to usher in more life gain interest in general. Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, a little soft this week, going down $1.70 to $28.63. This has been seeing standard play in Rakdos Sacrifice, which most likely will continue into next season. Pioneer, this is in Rakdos Pyromancer and more there. Modern, you'll find this in Rakdos Luris, Modern Midrange, Jund and more in that format. Also gets a little legacy play and some commander play. This is a fairly popular commander and now seeing additional play in that format and builds around Asmarano, Martika Deist, and Akuldakar. And the last card going down in value in this section is Grim Tutor, the copy from Starter 1999. It goes down $1.84 this week to $95.98. And of course, this has been soft ever since it was reprinted in Core Set 2021, but it does continue to lose value this week. It is a tutor, so it will see Commander play in various builds, old and new. Alright, our 2 cards in this section going up in value are both from the list, so they are a little bit harder to find online. This is Bone Crusher Giant. It goes up $1.28 to $5.72, only on the list during Kjell time. This has seen a ton of standard play, though. I'm sure it's going to continue to see more standard play next season. It's been in Prismari Midrange, Naya Adventures, Mono Red Aggro, and much more. Pioneer, this is in Mono Red Aggro there, Gruul Aggro and more. Modern, Crashing Footfalls, Gruul Midrange and more run this. Even sees a little legacy in Commander play. This is a good upgrade to one of the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms Commander decks, Planar Portal. But I've also seen some players building around this card from that deck from scratch and using Bone Crusher Giant. The card is Prosper Tomebound. And finally for this section, we have Brazen Borrower from the list. This was only there through Zendikar Rising. It goes up $1.47 to $37.40. This is another highly played standard card, and it will see play again this season, I have no doubt. It's been in Prismari Midrange and much more there. In Pioneer, this is an Is It Phoenix, Modern, Crashing Footfalls, Living End, and more. This also gets Legacy and Commander play too. And that takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. Let's look at the cards going down first. We have Primal Amulet. This is going down $1.83 to $14.07. This is retracting off some recent increases. The card got hot back when the Magecraft mechanic was being previewed a while back. This continues to see a lot of Commander play though, in Veyran, Voice of Duality, and more. Spire Bluff Canal from Kaladesh. It goes down $1.92 to $31.19. This recently spiked heavily due to the increased amount of play it's been getting in the new Modern meta, fueled by the release of Modern Horizons 2. This week though, it does retract some, as you can see. Now in Pioneer, this is an Is It Phoenix and Is It Prowess builds. In Modern, again, you're going to find these in so many builds, a lot of times 4 copies, but it's in places like Is It Tempo, Blitz, Living End, Jeskai Stoneblade, Jeskai Tempo, Crashing Footfalls, and more. This also is a great mana-based card in a lot of Commander builds, old and new. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria from Dominaria, of course. This goes down $2.01 to $31.47 this week. This was climbing back when Counterspell was previewed in Modern Horizons 2. Now it is retracting. Counterspell has been good in control builds in Modern, but maybe not as dominant as some people were speculating early on. Now when it comes to this card, it does see play in Pioneer. It's in Azorius and Esper Yorion there. Modern, it's in those control builds and more. Commander, you'll find this in Atraxa Praetor's Voice and much more there. Oh, Darksteel Forge from Plane Chase. This week, you're going down $2.09 to $21.50. Seems like it goes up one week, down the next week. It is hard to find this in good condition online, which is why it's been a little turbulent. But it is a solid Commander card, seeing more play now in Zabaz. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth from Ultimate Masters. This week, it goes down $2.21 to $31.32. Maybe not too surprising considering this did get reprinted in Time Spiral Remastered not too long ago. However, it has been hot regardless of that because of the reprinting of Cabal Coffers in Modern Horizons 2. Those two cards see a lot of play together in Commander. Now, aside from that, this sees play in a lot of other places. Pioneer, this is in Rakdos Pyromancer and more. Modern, Yawgmoth Sacrifice, Hell's Kitchen, sometimes Orzhov Stoneblade and more there. This also gets Legacy play. And, as you know, it is a big Commander card in many decks, including Chatterfang Squirrel General and Karth the Lion. Also, this is showing up in deck lists around a card from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms now, and that is Xanathar Guild Kingpin. And the last card going down in this section is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, down $2.64 to $60.65. This continues to retract after some recent increases. Pioneer, this is in Mono Green Ramp and Temur Energy. Modern, you'll find this in Tron, Legacy, Cloud Post, Commander, Kozilek, the Great Distortion, and more. And I have seen some players picking this up as an upgrade to the Draconic Rage Commander deck, which is coming out. And still others are putting this in fresh builds around a card from that deck. The card is Wolfgar of Icewind Dale. Finale of Devastation is going up this week. It's up $1.46 to $47.25. This is in Modern Devoted Devastation, but now it's showing up in Hell's Kitchen builds, which is why it's going up in value. This is also getting a lot more Commander play now in new builds like Chatterfang and Lannis Cryptozoologist. Leyline of Sanctity, the copy for Modern Masters 2015, goes up $1.73 to $7.49. Now, due to Modern Horizons 2 shaking up the Modern format, there's been a lot of people going back to either create new Modern decks from scratch or upgrade old ones for this new meta. When that happens, two types of cards tend to get especially hot. Mana-based cards. Lands will be going up in value. You'll see some of those later in the video. But the other kind of card that crosses over into a lot of different decks are the sideboard cards. And this is an example of one of those. One deck that this is good against is Yawgmoth Sacrifice. That deck tries to target the opponent with Joralf's Messenger triggers. Beyond that, this also gets some Legacy and Commander play, and it is getting more Commander play now in Sithis Harvest hand builds. And we have another sideboard card for Modern. This is Rest in Peace from Masters 25. It goes up $2.67 this week to $9.50. This can disrupt Sacrifice builds, which are popular currently. This also gets Pioneer, Legacy, and Commander play as well, and it is another card seeing more play in Commander Sithis decks. And surprise, surprise, another card that is seeing additional play in Modern sideboards. This is Alpine Moon. It goes up $3.10 this week to $5.40. This gets Pioneer, Legacy, and a tad bit of Commander play. But again, it's all about Modern right now when it comes to this price movement. This is good if you don't want to run Blood Moon due to your deck makeup. This is a nice answer to Urza Saga, which is everywhere seemingly right now. It can also be good against Rakdos mid-range builds that are running Shinka the Blood-Soaked Keep or Shizo Death Storehouse. Many decks are running Inkmoth Nexus now, like Hammer Time, Hardened Scales, Infect, and Infinity. Additionally, there are a lot of other utility lands in the format that you might come across as well. And the last card in this section is Notion Thief. The Zendikar Rising Commander copy goes up $3.75 to $5.57. The Dragon's Maze copy goes up $4.15 to $6. The Masters 25 copy goes up $5.98 to $7.99. Now, this has seen play in Pioneer Niv to Light, but you know this more as a very popular Commander card, moving for a couple of reasons this week. The first and maybe biggest reason is due to the fact that Hull Breacher was banned in Commander this week. Some players just needed a quick replacement for Hull Breacher in their decks. Maybe this isn't the best option, doesn't fit into all decks obviously since this is blue and black, but if you didn't already have this in your builds and you were using Hull Breacher, this could have been an option for some people. More likely though, this increase is being generated more by speculators that think people are going to want to buy this card, so we'll have to see what happens in the coming weeks. Additionally, this was mentioned on the Command Zone podcast in a discussion where they were talking about how too many similar cards with powerful effects reduce the variance in Commander. That alone could have brought some attention to it. Secondly, though, this is also in many early Commander deck lists around a new card from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. We saw it earlier, Xanathar, Guild Kingpin. And that takes us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. We're going to see the Modern cards moving the most here. There's going to be some more Modern cards later in the video as well. First, we have the cards going down in value. Celestial Ancient, this is the copy from the list that was added with Modern Horizons 2, trying to find its price point. It goes down $4.94 this week to $5. This does see Commander play in enchantment heavy builds like Sithis. Bloodstained Mire from Onslaught, the original, it goes down $5.02 to $84.97. It did spike last week, retracts this week. Ally fetch lands from Onslaught, and to some degree the Khans of Tarkir ones, have been a little turbulent as players have been building these new decks in the Modern meta. We've seen them go up in value. Sometimes we see retractions like this. Enemy fetches have continued to trend down for the most part, even with the increase in demand, since they were reprinted in Modern Horizons 2. Now, most fetch lands do see play in Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. Ultimately, even the ones going down in value will eventually stabilize and start to creep up again. Tarmogoyf, the one from the list, goes down $5.41 to $43.74. This joined the list with Modern Horizons 2. Guess what? It's leaving the list with Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. So sure, this copy is finding its price point, but when it comes to the card specifically, it does not see as much Modern play as it once did. However, still shows up in Jund, 4-color and Jund Death Shadow, The Rock, and more. Also continues to see some Legacy, Vintage, and a little Commander play. Engineered Explosives, the copy from Double Masters, goes down $5.76 this week to $14. All copies of this were spiking last week. This one's trending down a little. There is another copy still going up. We will see it later in the video. Now, this is another example of a solid sideboard card in the Modern meta. This also gets a good amount of Legacy and a little Commander play. Stoneforge Mystic World Weight goes down $6.23 to $71. Double Masters down $7.62 to $70. This card has been spiking ever since that Modern meta shakeup. This week we do see it retracting a little bit after some big increases. Stoneblade builds have been and continue to do very well in this new Modern meta. The Orzhov one maybe sees the most play right now, followed closely by Jeskai, but this card is also in Hammer Time, Death and Taxes, and more there. Legacy, it's in Death and Taxes, Maverick, Stoneblade builds in that format as well, and other decks too. This gets a good amount of Commander play. Also, this is a good upgrade for one of those upcoming Commander decks, Aura of Courage. And again, aside from just being an upgrade, I have seen players building around a card from that deck from scratch and using Stoneforge Mystic. This time the card is Galea, Kindler of Hope. And the last card going down in value is Cabal Coffers. Torment down $5.63 to $57.19. Plane Chase goes down $9.93 to $69.99. This has been reprinted in Modern Horizons 2, making it Modern legal, but so far I haven't seen it in too many Modern brews. There was a Orzhov Reanimation deck running this, but it hasn't really taken off yet. This, however, is a highly played Commander card, and the extra copies in the market have brought the value down on these older copies quite a bit. Many players have been waiting a long time to pick up this card at a more reasonable price. This is also getting additional Commander play now in builds like Chatterfang and Karth. Inkmoth Nexus from Meriden Besieged. It goes up $4.77 to $39.62 this week. We just mentioned all the Modern play this card has been seeing. This is also in Legacy, in fact. Plus, this has recently seen some increased Commander play in Zabaz builds. Lurgoyf, this is the one from Deckmasters, Garfield vs. Finkel. This particular copy only comes in foil. and it is hard to find right now in good condition online, so the price got inflated. This goes up $5.60 in theory to $27.99, although that does feel pretty high. This does see a little Commander play, though. Primal Beyond. I think it's time to use my one per video because I do see a Morningtide rare that has yet to be reprinted. You know this, you watch these videos. During this time period of Magic, there was a recession in the game, less packs were cracked, so these rares, especially if they have not been reprinted, they tend to spike if people pay attention to them. This one goes up $5.78 this week to $19, and why is that? Well, this does get a little Commander play, but it is hot right now because it is used in a new Modern build, 5-color Elementals. Terminate. This is the copy from the list that did leave the list after Keldheim. It goes up $6.20 this week to $11.98. This is just dry online right now, and it is seeing some inflation, much like Lacroix we saw a moment ago. It actually is being reprinted in Planar Portal, one of the new Commander decks. Although, of course, it won't be that full art treatment like you see on the screen. This does see some Modern play in various builds, and it does get a lot of Commander play. Plus, it has been getting more play there in those Azmarano, Martica Dice, Dinacolda card decks. Urza, Lord High Artificer from Modern Horizons. It goes up $10.95 to $75.95 this week. This did get a reprint as a Modern Horizons 1 Retro Frame card in Modern Horizons 2. However, those only come in collector boosters, and they only come as foils or etch foils. Some players may prefer a non-foil copy. Now, when it comes to gameplay, this is in Urza's Kitchen in Modern. That's what's really pushing this price point this week. Also, it does still show up in the regular Urza builds. Plus, it gets Legacy and Vintage play. And it is a popular commander, but getting increased play there too in Lannis decks. And the last card in this section is another sideboard card for Modern. This is Shattering Spree, the mystery booster copy up $1.15 to $18.49. Guild Pact goes up $4.49 to $21.18. And the Guilds of Ravnica is a Guild Kit copy, goes up $22.36 to $39.99, as that one in particular has dried up in the marketplace. Now you see a pretty wide variety of prices there. I'm sure as time goes on and things stabilize, they'll start to move closer together. There's so many decks running Urza Saga now, like I said earlier. Also, there's just a lot of decks leaning harder on artifacts in general now. This is good against Hammer Time, Amulet Titan, Urza's Kitchen, Hell's Kitchen, Stoneblade builds, Affinity, Hardened Scales, and more. Also, this does continue to see play in Legacy and Vintage. In Commander, many times you'll find this in fast mono red decks that don't rely on mana rocks as much. For example, this is seeing more play now in Ragavan Nimble Pilfer decks. Plus, I'm seeing this in deck lists around new cards, one of which is Inferno of the Star Mounts, and another one is Vrondis, Rage of Ancients. Now, I have seen again some people building fresh around that card on the right, but I've also seen some people picking up Shattering Spree as an upgrade to the Draconic Rage Commander deck. That takes us to the Vintage Spotlight. There's still a lot of manipulation out there. You do have to be careful when it comes to vintage cards. Things are changing in the vintage market. More cards are being graded, especially from those older sets. So when you look at price points, you have to really start thinking that the price you're seeing most likely is somewhere between the high-grade raw and high-grade graded copies. But the good news is there's a lot less activity in the vintage market, maybe still turbulent compared to what we were seeing a year or two ago, but nevertheless, things are moving in a calming direction. I'm seeing more people selling cards now, as opposed to trying to just buy everything up. And again, I do think as long as that doesn't go too far in the other direction, that could be good for the market in general. First, we have Necropotence. This is the copy from Deckmasters, Garfield vs. Finkel. Again, this one only comes in foil. A little bit harder to find in good condition online. It goes up $5.40 this week to $124. This is in Vintage Doomsday. This also gets a lot of Commander play. And it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week, too. Mox Diamond from Stronghold. This goes up $6.48 this week to $633.59. The first reserve list card today, as you can see by the notation in the upper right-hand corner. In Legacy, this is a Knight of the Reliquary, lands, and more. You find this in a lot of different Commander decks, including the deck list around a new card that we mentioned earlier, Xanathar Guild Kingpin. Lord of the Pit from Unlimited is next, and a lot of cards from this set have been hot regardless of whether they are reserve list or not. This one goes up $11.66 to $84.57. Tropical Island from Revised. It goes up $16.75 to $799.94. El Hajjaj, the one from Arabian Nights, it goes up $17.25 to $77.25. Aladdin's Ring from Arabian Nights up $17.59 to $180.17. Tundra, the one from Revised, it goes up $19.47 to $548.95. Underground Sea from Revised up $22.50 to $927.48. Falling Star, this goes up $23 to $259.99 this week. The original copy of Johan from Legends up 24.87 to 74.54. Divine Intervention up 26.59 to 299.98. Concordant Crossroads from Legends up 36.39 to 334.99. Sorceress Queen, the copy from Arabian Nights, up 38.12 to 390. Earthquake from Unlimited up 43.74 to 136.21. Navineral's Disc from Unlimited up 46.49 to 289.99. Solkanar, the Swamp King, that Legends copy up 53.28 to 142.48. Gaia's Liege from Unlimited up 69.87 to $200. Although, if I pulled the price at the exact same time this week as I did last week, I do think this and maybe a few other cards in the video today would have fallen off. This has been relatively stable all week. City of Brass, the one from Arabian Nights, up 85.43 to 585.42. Cyclopean Tomb from Unlimited, up 94.49 to 271.28. Gwendolyn de Corsai, this goes up 134.30 to 625. Badlands, the revised copy, up 335 to 508.30, but that unlimited copy up 326.20 to 1029.50. Remember though, especially with these harder to find cards, the more expensive ones, basically the price shifts you see just depend on how many graded copies are currently out there in any given week. Alright, let's move on to the best of the rest. Typically I call this the Commander Spotlight. However, because there has been so much of an influence from Modern Horizons 2 recently on the Modern format, I've been trying to be a little broader as to which cards I cover in this section. A lot of them are moving because of Commander, at least in part. There's a few, though, of course, that are moving more because of Modern. Breeding Pool from Gatecrash goes up $1 to 25.06. Now, the Shocklands are being reprinted again in the Culture Shock Secret Layers. This one, though, still creeping up a little bit. These all tend to see play in Pioneer, Modern, Commander, and they're in a lot of builds in those formats. Suppression Field, another sideboard card. This one goes up $1.01 to 3.94. Now, this one also happens to be an enchantment as well. This can disrupt Urza's Saga, which is important nowadays in the Modern meta, as well as some of the other cards we mentioned today. It's not the most popular option, though, in sideboards, but it is an enchantment, making it more desirable in decks that care about that type of thing, like Enchantress, for example. Also, it has seen increased Commander play in Sithis decks. Stitch in Time from Guild Pack. This goes up $1.02 to 9.97. This is getting more Commander play in Yusri Fortune's Flame builds now. Underground River up $1.02 to 14.45. This is the one from 10th edition. These Ally Pain lands basically only see play in Commander, but they are a part of a lot of mana bases there. This one does share color identity with a new popular card coming from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Xanathar Guild Kingpin again. Aggravated Assault. This is the copy from Onslaught. It goes up $1.02 to 19.89. Now, this has been getting more Commander play in Ragavan builds recently, but now it is another card you could use to upgrade Draconic Rage, or again, maybe you want to put it in a new build around Wolfgar. Additionally, though, I have seen this in deck lists around another new card, and that is Delina Wild Mage. Plus, Aggravated Assault did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week, which could have brought some more attention to it. Nature's Will. This goes up $1.03 to 31.34. Popular Commander card in Nigila the Blade Blossom decks and more. Visions of Beyond. This is the copy from Magic 2012. It goes up $1.04 to 6.93. This is in Modern Mill. That is a deck that people are paying attention to. It's not the biggest deck in the format right now, but it is hanging in there and can put up some good results. I've also seen this in some Commander deck lists around a card coming from one of the new Commander decks, Dungeons of Death, and that card is Min Wiley Illusionist. Aethersworn Canonist. This copy from Shards of Alara still increasing, up $1.11 to 12.59 this week. This has been seeing more play now in Modern Affinity, Legacy Azorius Affinity. Those are two decks that came about after Modern Horizons 2 dropped. This is also in other Legacy decks like Death and Taxes, sometimes Jeskai Standstill, and more. Also showing up in Commander deck lists around a new card. This time it's Oswald Fiddlebender from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Grand Abolisher from Commander 2014. This goes up $1.11 to $30. This gets a good amount of Commander play in various builds. Birds of Paradise. The one from Conspiracy Take the Crown is a little dry online this week, going up $1.12 to 12.82. This card is getting a reprint in the Mark Pool Secret Lair. In Modern, you'll find this in Bant Stoneblade and much more. This also gets a little Legacy play and a whole lot of Commander play, even getting more play in Shatterfang, Lannis builds. Now it is in deck lists around some new Adventures in the Forgotten Realms cards too. The more popular one I've been seeing is Volo Guide to Monsters. Archangel Thune, the copy for Magic 2014, goes up $1.15 to 23.70. This is another card that may see more play in the future with the Book of Exalted Deeds. Also, another card that is showing up in deck lists around Trelisara Moondancer and Commander. Additionally, this was already getting more play in Sithis builds there. Puppet's Verdict. This is the copy from the list. This was on the list during Zendikar Rising only. It goes up $1.18 to $6.17, seeing more play now in Commander Yestari Fortune's Flame decks. Royal Assassin from Revised. It goes up $1.18 to $13.71. This has seen some increased Commander play in Garth One-Eye builds. Fiery Islet. This goes up $1.19 to $28.63. You'll find this in Modern as a Tempo, Blitz, Burn, and much more. This also sees a little Legacy play, and it is a good Commander mana-based card in a lot of builds, old and new. Hercule's Recall, the one from Modern Masters 2015. It goes up $1.21 to $4.74. Many times you'll find this in Modern, Urza's Kitchen, and more. Also gets Legacy, Vintage, and Commander play. Flickering Ward. This goes up $1.27 to $7.29, and this has seen additional Commander play in Sithis decks. Sliver Hive up $1.29 to $28.46. Of course, this is in those popular Commander Sliver decks. Mem Knight, the copy from the list, goes up $1.10 to $7.23. Scars of Mirrodin up $1.30 to $7.25. In Modern, you'll find this one in Hammer Time, Affinity. Also gets Commander play in Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow and much more. Wasteland, the one from Tempest, up $1.31 to $40. This gets a lot of Legacy, Vintage, and Commander play. It is getting a reprint too in the Mark Poole Secret Lair. Liliana, Untouched by Death from Core Set 2019, goes up $1.36 to $5.99. This is in various Commander Zombie decks. Violent Outburst. This goes up $1.37 to $6.97. In Modern, this is in Crashing Footfalls, Living End, and more. Gets a little Commander play too. Graven Cairns, the one from Future Sight. It goes up $1.42 to $10.99. This does see play in Modern Rakdos Luris. Also a solid Commander mana-based card in builds old and new. Another land that sees a little Commander play. This one also from that time period of Magic. This is Wanderwine Hub. It goes up $1.42 to $11. Wheel of Fortune from Revised, just a small percentage increase, but it is going up $1.45 to $3.99.99. Popular Commander card getting more play now in Ragavan and Garth. Kozilek Butcher of Truth, this is the copy from the list. It joined with Strixhaven. It will be leaving with Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. It goes up $1.52 to $68.87. In Modern, this is in Taking Turns and more. Also, this can show up in Legacy Cloudpost. Additionally, this is another card in deck lists around Wolfgar, or a possible upgrade to Draconic Rage. Mana Vortex up $1.53 to $61.32. Sure, this does see a tad bit of Commander play, but the real reason this is here is because we cannot go 1 week without seeing a reserve list card from the Dark in the video. Windswept Heath. Okay, here's a fetch land that is creeping up in value. Karns of Tarkir up $1.33 to $37.99. The Onslaught copy up $1.61 to $89. Copy Artifact from Revised. It goes up $1.64 to $104.49. Gets Commander play in Urza Lord High Artificer and much more. Liliana of the Veil from Innistrad. It goes up $1.69 to $91.73. You'll find this one in Modern Jund and more. Also see some Legacy play, and it is getting more Commander play now in Karth and Grist the Hunger Tide. Here's another card that is getting hard to find in good condition. Bitter Ordeal up $1.81 to $17.88. This gets a little Commander play. It can be a good way to slow down combos in the format. This also could be good in some builds around a new card. That is Ebondeath Dracolich. If you can find some ways to reduce the casting cost of this creature, and also have a sack outlet, maybe one that gives you mana, add Endrick, Sire Master Breeder for more creatures to sacrifice, then Bitter Ordeal could be a finisher. Thawing Glaciers from Alliances up $1.82 to $40.45. This does get some Commander play, but you know the main reason this is moving right now. Yup, you got it, it's on the reserve list. Nissa Ravane, this is the one from the list, only there during Zendikar Rising. It goes up $1.84 to $18.15. This gets a little Commander play, usually in Elf builds. Energy Storm up $1.93 to $7.17, and this does see a little Commander play, but again, really moving due to its status on the reserve list. Glimpse of Nature up $1.99 to $27.32. This is in Legacy Elves. Has seen more Commander play recently in Ave Progenitor Ooze builds, also in Thrasta Tempest Roar. Now this is in some early deck lists around Volo Guide to Monsters as well. Force of Will from Double Masters up $2.14 to $119.99. This is a huge Legacy Vintage Commander card. Also did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week as well, although I don't think this card needed any help to climb. Reflecting Pool from Conspiracy. It goes up $2.39 to $33. Modern, you'll find this sometimes in 5-color elementals, but it is a big Commander mana-based card in old and new builds, especially good for 5 or 4-color decks. Blood Moon, 3 copies moving this week. Modern Masters 2017 up $1.18 to $16.49. 8th edition up $2.25 to $17.88. And Double Masters goes up $2.43 to $16.75. This is in a lot of builds in that new modern meta. It's in Blitz, Enchantress, Gruul midrange, Mono Red aggro, many times is it Tempo and Crashing Footfalls, plus much more. This also continues to see a lot of Legacy and Commander play, and it is getting more Commander play now in Ragavan decks. Maze of Ith, the original from the Dark, it goes up $2.47 to $39.27. You'll find this one in Legacy lands and more, getting increased Commander play now in some Karth builds. Coat of Arms from 8th edition up $2.71 to $19.99. This is getting more Commander play now in Chatterfang decks. In general, though, this could get a boost from some of the tribal support we've seen in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, or the recent change that gave a lot of existing creatures the Phyrexian creature type. Lord of Atlantis, that 7th edition copy up $1.44 to $22.32, the 6th edition up $2.83 to $16.99. This is in Modern and Legacy Merfolk. This has seen increased Commander play too in Svelin of Sea and Sky. Speaking of cards that recently became Phyrexian creature types, this is Phyrexian Crusader. It goes up $2.84 to $15. In Modern, you'll find this in Infect, also sees Commander play and attracts a Praetor's Voice and more. Demon of Death's Gate, this goes up $2.87 to $11.64, sees a tad bit of Commander play, but there is a budget Modern build out there called Demonic Learning that runs 4 of these. Altar of Dementia, this is the one from Tempest, it goes up $3.04 this week to $17.50. You'll find this one in Legacy Hogak, another highly played Commander card though too, seeing more play in some new builds, Chatterfang, Grist. Also, this was on the Command Zone podcast last week. They mentioned it could be good with a new legendary creature from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. That creature is Orcus, Prince of Undeath. Elvish Champion, that 10th edition copy dries up a little bit. It goes up $3.30 to $31.65. This is in Modern Elves, and you'll find this in Commander Elves builds too, like Lathril Blade of the Elves. Arcbound Reclaimer, this goes up $3.35 to $8.65. This is getting a lot of additional Commander play now in Zabaz decks. Also, I have seen this in some early Commander builds around a card we mentioned earlier, Oswald Fiddlebender. Flooded Strand, here's another Onslaught fetch land. This one was going down last week. It rebounds a little this week. It goes up $3.37 to $85.99. Bloodghast, the copy from the list that was only there through Zendikar Rising. It goes up $3.49 this week to $26.22. Modern, you'll find this in Dredge. Legacy, it's in Hogak. Vintage, get this, it's in Hogak and Dredge. This is also a good upgrade for one of the new Commander decks, Dungeons of Death. Or you might want to put this in a new build around a card from that deck. The card I'm referring to is Sephirus of the Hidden Ways. Squirrel Wrangler from Prophecy. This has seen increased Commander play, and you guessed it, Chatterfang. This goes up $3.69 to $11.62. Intuition from Tempest goes up $3.93 to $1.89. You'll find this one in Legacy Omnitel, Sneak and Show. Also gets a good amount of Commander play. Archive Trap. First we have the copy from the list going up $3.78 to $25.49 that joined the list with Strixhaven. Then we have Zendikar going up $4.03 to $26.85. This is another card you'll find in Modern Mill. This also, though, gets Vintage and Commander play, and I have seen this in a Mill variation of a build around a new Adventures in the Forgotten Realms card. The Commander I'm referring to this time is Grazilax, Illithid Scholar. And here's that copy of Engineered Explosives that's going up in value. It's the one from 5th Dawn. It goes up $4.28 to $28.95. Nature's Cloak, that Portal copy goes up $4.39 to $10.50. This particular copy is dry online this week and is inflating, as you can see. This gets a tad bit of Commander play. I know a lot of people were speculating on this card when Yavimaya Cradle of Growth was previewed, but I really haven't seen Nature's Cloak do all that much in Commander since. Chalice of the Void, this is another very popular Modern sideboard card. It's a good option in a lot of builds. Also gets Legacy, Vintage, and a little Commander play. Masters 25 up $2.56 this week to $46.74. Time Spiral Remastered up $2.72 to $43.99. Mirrodin up $4.31 to $47.44. And Modern Masters up $4.47 to $46.98. Sea Hunter, this is a card that's yet to be reprinted, hard to find online in good condition, and it has seen increased Commander play in Svelin of Sea and Sky. It goes up $4.59 to $12.58. Opalescence up $36 this week to $69.99. Another reserve list card. Again, that's part of the reason it's jumping as much as it is. But this has seen increased play in Commander Sithis decks, and it did get a Command Zone podcast mention this week too. Alright, that's going to take us to the premium spotlight. Tons of interesting things going on in the premium market. Too much to cover here. One little tidbit, if you want to check this out for yourself, I thought this was interesting. some Magic community members were sent a foil version of a new secret layer, and that secret layer was the Dan Frazier enemy signets. However, there's a catch. The real product is going to be an etched foil, so these foil versions are going to be extremely rare going forward, and I'm sure there's going to be some high-end buyers interested. As a matter of fact, Aspiring Spike is auctioning his off for charity right now, so if you're interested to see what these could go for, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check out the auction. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of money, but at least it is going to charity. But aside from that, usually in the premium spotlight, I try to give you one or a handful of cards that are moving naturally with the market for the most part. Things that are moving because of gameplay, maybe a preview card pushed them, some other piece of news. But in general, when it comes to the secondary market with premium cards, do your homework, be careful. There is still market manipulation out there. Not as much as we were seeing, but it's always good to check some recent sales before you make a purchase, and that's what I try to do in this section. So here's the card that I chose this week. It is Sea Hunter, the foil copy from Nemesis, going up $40.21 to $99 in theory. In this section, the value I show you is very similar to what you might find on your price tracking websites. So is this legitimate? Well, I looked at true sales, and here's what I found. Copies of this card were selling for about $45 pretty consistently, but that was before the non-foil copy spiked. So I don't think it's out of the question for future copies to sell closer to this price point, maybe not quite $99 right away. This is most likely a situation where sellers are trying to stay ahead of the spike, so they're pricing the card a little bit higher than they're expecting to get, and then they'll take a reasonable offer. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of The Market Watch. If you stuck to the end, hey, thanks for being here with me. As always, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.